Ahoy listeners, welcome to the Yonko Podcast with me, Alex Chuan, and our crew, Burke and Brock. Chapter 1030 happily reminds us that this is One Piece, not a Game ga Kill, which means no one's really dead unless you're Pedro, Yusui, Whitebeard, Odin, Ace, or that one dude that Lucky Roo shot in episode 1. So, who survived this time? We'll just have to wait and see, I guess. All this and so much more on today's episode of the Yonko Podcast. Let's jump right in. Let's set sail. Chapter 1030, The Impermanence of All Things.
I do not need an existential crisis right now, Oda.
You're getting one.
Damn it.
It's fun to watch.
It is fun to read indeed. We have Brook, an army of ants crossing over his foot.
Hurrah! Hurrah!
Brook carefully sidesteps a file of army ants, and they are indeed looking like they're part of the army.
If Brook had just, stepped on them, we could have avoided the massacre in the movie Ants.
No, but here's the thing, guys. Little cool. I know.
Or an ant bully.
I know. I know because Alex and Burke haven't watched the movie Strong World.
Oh, yeah.
But in the movie Strong World, Burke actually kills a swarm of these ants. Because these things are like super-powered ants that can like devour huge monsters immediately.
Oh, yeah.
And he just destroys them in the movie Strong World.
You are right. I have not watched any of the movies. Fake fan alert.
I wasn't calling you
Wait,
out.
you haven't even seen, movie Gold? I thought you've seen movie
No,
Gold.
we're going to watch them all together, my girlfriend and I.
Okay.
And since we just caught up on all the episodes, what's left to do but watch the movies?
Sure. Especially if you skipped those 4 episodes that my wife and I missed, skipped in Impel Down.
Indubitably.
Because they also, I believe, had to do with Strong World,
Mm-hmm.
if I remember. Isn't that the one with Shiki?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, if it's filler, we
Exactly.
skip it, so we gotta go back and watch it to get ready for movies.
Okay.
And
Anyway,
10:30.
10:30 starts.
With some really cool individuals. Now, I did mention, this is fun, I mentioned last week that I was like,
say.
numbers, where are they? Have
Yeah,
we
you
seen
did.
them all? And here are some more of them. I'm assuming the last few? Because it's the top numbers. It's 1, 2, and 3.
I'm not gonna lie. The guy with the mustache is really cool.
Oh, yeah.
I really like
Yeah.
his design.
I think that's number 1. I think he's going to have some cool shit to
He
do.
better be number one.
But we enter in on a weird dynamic that I did not see coming.
Away from the battle.
There's a lot of things we didn't see coming in this chapter.
I'm going to play Apoo, because I want to play Apoo.
That's fine. I'll be Drake.
Waka waka, you're a Navy spy from what I can gather.
Oh my god.
But that's not important right now. All I care about is whether you want to take down Kaido now, Apapa. No matter how this war ends, the winner isn't coming out unscathed. There'll be easy pickings, waka waka.
And then we cut to the big shot of all the numbers while Apoo continues his monologue to Drake.
Inbi, Fuga, and Zonki.
Yes, 1, 2, and 3. How about it? We could team up, swoop in, and steal victory at the last moment. Flagga, flagga, flagga. Neither of us has a horse in the race after all. There's no point in us going at it.
I'm speechless. You honestly think I could trust you?
Trust got nothing to do with it. This arrangement would be mutually beneficial for us. And then opportunities like this, as we close in on these really sick face shots of the numbers, only come around once in a lifetime.
So automatically just answering the question I had been having where I was like, I hope Drake is killing Apoo off in, some random room somewhere.
I am glad we got an update.
No, why would I get what I want? Why would we get rid of the worst supernova ever? And that's saying something because Rouge does nothing.
But I mean, to be fair, I mean,
Took down one of the Sweet Generals.
Yeah.
Back when he was doing
But we
that.
haven't seen that.
well, I mean, and to be fair, I mean, these guys, they've basically been called the next generation, so they're not going to be gotten rid of that easily.
I know.
It is surprising how hefty of a character Apoo has shown all the attacks he's taken in this war.
Yeah,
here's
he's
the
still
thing.
talking and doing
Here's
his
the
shit.
thing. Here's the thing about Apoo is he's just like what's his name?
God,
Big
the uncle
Mom,
you don't
Big
like?
Mom's oldest son. What's his name?
Oh, Paris Sparrow.
He's
Already
tougher
forgotten
than
him.
he looks, but you hate him.
I gotta stop you. You literally forgot Paris Sparrow's name that fast. Damn, dude.
I hate him,
I
dude.
thought I hated the guy.
No, he's annoying. No, but I compare him to Paris Sparrow because you hate how he talks and acts and just he's an asshole. But he's really strong.
No,
he's
seemingly-
there's a reason he's got his name.
Yeah,
You know.
I mean, he has a lower bounty than all the Sweet Generals, I'm assuming, but he is still the eldest son, right? He's seen some shit.
Absolutely.
But no, I really am interested to see what this dynamic is like, because it seems like these numbers, they're not participating in the war as of yet. They seem to be backing up Apoo at the moment.
Yeah.
And, Drake could beat the shit out of Apoo, I'm assuming, but with them there, maybe that's a tougher ask. You know?
I don't know, man.
And there's even no guarantee that it'd be an easy fight for Drake.
Because
Apoo's power by itself is pretty overpowered. Like, you have to not hear.
He was knocking Zoro and Luffy around for a bit there too,
and Kid and Law.
Yeah, like his power is
we can't underestimate Apoo just because he's annoying.
But Drake is also a pretty hefty dino bull.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
they're both supernovas.
So and I really want some cool shit to happen with this Eevee guy.
All I gotta say to you two is this was number 1 on Burke's annoyances with this chapter. Everything to do with Apoo.
Fair enough.
I can understand Drake because he is a double agent for the Marines. I can understand him not really choosing a side between Kaido or Luffy. Obviously, it was beneficial at a point earlier where he could have been killed by the rest of the Tobi-Roppo and any of other Kaido's other forces to temporarily help the Straw Hats for a moment.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect him to full on join them. I just assumed he would help participate in the war until such a time as he could either make his escape or do something that was more aligned with what his motivations are in this moment.
Yamato?
Working with
Apoo,
who at this point is still acting as a pirate, as far as I can tell, just doesn't seem right to me. I don't know.
I don't know if Drake will take him up on this.
Yeah.
Because he already has a kind of alliance with the Straw Hats.
I think we got to take into account a couple things.
Is Apoo switching sides at this point? Because that could be helpful.
I think we got to take a couple things that Oa has kind of settled as far as the supernovas and each individual character is concerned. The supernovas are not ones to just be controlled. This is a special case because it's Kaido. Overwhelmingly powerful. Only people with the will, like Luffy's or Kid, would dare fight back against that type of thing. But outside of them, they all got heavy dreams and heavy aspirations that they're not going to bow to many people. And then also,
unless you're Hawkins,
such a disappointment.
No, here's the thing.
I'm kidding.
But I mean,
no, actually,
no, not really.
Because
here's the thing with Hawkins.
Yeah.
I won't be a little sure on this. He's always relied on the cards and I truly believe that he thought he'd come out on top because the cards told him Kaido's the way to survive. That's how he's always functioned. This is nothing surprising with him.
I just wish he had bigger goals that eventually let him switch sides because he saw how things were turning. But it seems like he stepped into that role further at the end and then was defeated by killers.
Here's what I gotta say about that as well. What if with Hawkins' card readings, which most of the time they've been accurate for his benefit.
Well, it's percentages, right?
Yeah.
He just goes with the bigger one, right?
He always goes with the bigger number, or there's only a 55% chance I'm going to die with Kizaru, or whatever the number was back in when we first got introduced to him. But what if it's almost like a Doctor Strange thing where the Straw Hats literally found the 1 in 14 million pathway to victory?
That would be the Straw Hats.
Cool. That would be them, for sure. And then really quick on Drake. First of all, there's no guarantee that he won't turn on the Straw Hats. He's a Navy man.
I am
this
curious.
Is confirmed.
I am curious what his role will be
and
when those world government ships arrive.
Everything he does, he's doing for the Navy, as far as I'm concerned, from what I can tell. So, he might not even be paying attention to, Luffy's and Apoo's differences in intentions. Maybe he will notice that in the future. But I think right now his main goal is taking down Kaido and making... For all I know, he might be a front agent for the incoming invasion.
True.
Because he's Navy. We don't know where he stands right now in terms of that. Is he a Garp? Is he on a Garp side type of Navy? Is he on an Akainu type side? We don't know much about Drake right now.
No. Well, it's Sword, right? Which isn't CP0.
No.
Right? Because he's not communicating with them. He's communicating directly with Colby last we saw.
Fair enough.
Right?
Yeah. We can assume he's probably on a better side.
But just for
the good side
all
of the
you,
government.
we're talking at length about some of these things because some of them are just so short of moments that it's we aren't even coming back to Apoo or Drake at all this chapter. This is it.
Yeah.
So we have to talk at length about this small portion really fast.
Well, also, it brings up a lot. We leave a story alone for a bunch of chapters, and then we come back. It's what is going on?
Well, I mean, think about it. Every time supernovas team up, it's a worldwide thing.
Well,
you know?
Yeah, when Yonkos do, when supernovas do, right? Luffy and Law and all them. Sure.
Okay. Stairs between the first and second floor.
Hang in there, Komichio!
Kamachio.
Hurry, the fire's spreading fast!
Let's see.
Uh,
Slowing down. Yeah, yokai!
What?
Huh? A torsoless yokai!
Somebody help me!
What?
What? Wait, Kinemon, is that you? What the heck are you doing?
Ugh, who goes there, Poot? This is Kinemon! I need to find my allies, Poot!
I'm an ally. It's me, Usopp.
Whoa!
Whoa!
Oh, sorry.
Whoa! You're bleeding like crazy. Are you all right?
He can't hear you, Usopp. This half of him doesn't have any ears.
Right.
Who's there? Answer me, Poot!
What do we do?
How's this? He. Huh? That was the crescent mark of the rebellion, Poot! So I have found one of you. I have an urgent request, Poot!
And, I'm assuming something happens there where he relays that to Usopp based on Usopp's face.
Yeah.
I'll go with Hamlet. You guys stay with Tama.
Man, you can't get enough of me. I'm in your debt. Man, you guys just... No, I don't know who says that.
So that's Hamlet.
Okay. I'm in your debt.
And then that's Kinemon.
Yeah, you truly are a friend, Put. There is a passage on the first floor that leads to the attic of the left tower, Put. She is barely clinging to life. Please save her. I implore you. As we get
cut back to the attic
Yeah.
where we last saw this. It was quite the depressing chapter when this happened, but the aftermath of Kaido's fight with Kinemon, Kiku, and obviously Kanjuro was cut down by Kinemon.
Yes, we have closing on Kiku, who just barely hanging on to life there.
So.
This goes back to Brock's optimism, which generally I think aligns with Oda's style of, most people aren't just going to be dead like that.
I mean, and also I was pretty sure at least Kinemon survived.
So, here's my thing. I'm going to have a lot of annoyances, but this is the one time of this chapter full of things that kind of bugged me.
Yeah.
I'm going to give so much props to Oda because of all the reasons that Kinemon would survive this. Law just not necessarily putting him back together properly is a great narrative thing that makes fucking sense as to why Kinemon would have survived this.
Well, and also, if you think about it, Burke, too, and I thought long and hard about this, because, I know a lot of people probably thought it was just kind of like a, it was like a, what's the word, a cop-out type deal. But for one, we don't know, we really just don't know what goes into each aspect of a power.
Oh, absolutely.
And this perfect example is Law's power. It's basically he has his own operating table, right?
Yep.
He's a surgeon. And, when you're a surgeon, you stitch things up so it doesn't open back up again. So I think it's entirely possible if you didn't put quite enough concentration in it, there might be a reason for it to open back up.
Yep.
So, I mean, it makes sense to me.
It absolutely makes sense to me, and that's what I'm going to give Oda props for here, because of all the things that could have saved Kinemon's life, this makes perfect sense to me.
It was better than just, taking it and living.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, okay, go ahead, and Alex, and continue with Kinemon's thoughts in this moment.
Bear with me a little longer, Kiku. Help is on the way. I still can't believe it. I survived being severed in two. I suppose Laudana did not completely reattach my body before. What a miracle. Now please let Kiku be spared. Hey. Answer me, Kanjuro. That is Orochi's voice. But he was beheaded. He seemed unaware of Kanjuro's demise. And then we have Kanjuro.
I am here, Orochi-sama.
Sounds like you're at the brink, Kanjuro.
Yes, the finale.
I have nothing but praise. Your performance was masterful.
That is flattering to hear.
Can you hear it? The cheers you earned?
For me?
Indeed. Unfortunately, the bitterness and resentment rippling through me means I cannot fully appreciate it. Our ancestors remain unsatisfied. Give them a
stupendous encore, Kanjuro. Use your paintings to depict the burning wrath of the Kurozomi clan. We will have the last laugh. Let them all be consumed by the Kurozomi clan's vengeance. Cast all the stragglers in the castle.
All this time, a weakened Kanjuro begins drawing this blob that starts to take shape.
Into the abyss of hell! Drag them as low as our brethren, trapped in their graves. Free their souls, Kanjuro. Free us in a final blaze of glory!
As you wish. Please enjoy my final show, The Suicide Pact of the Kurozomi clan. And it appears to me he falls.
Seems like he's dead here.
I think this is it.
We said that last.
We said that a lot.
We've
said that. We said it like twice. I will never speak with 100% certainty, but I think this might be it.
Shout out to the mad lad who the night that this chapter came out, immediately posts a goddamn edit of Blackbeard's Dreams Will Never Die speech, but then replaces it with Kanjuro, which I then sent to these guys when they were like, why are you mad about this chapter? Kanjuro will never die! That's all I gotta say about that.
And then we have the birth of Kanzenbo. Which is just burning
the giant flame demon thing.
It's like the blob that Kanjuro's soul is that we saw in the flashbacks where his family was murdered and he was on the stage and he's not a person, he's just this vengeance metamorphized type thing.
He was born in the darkness.
It's a self depiction in a sense, but don't touch it, you'll be roasted.
What the hell is this monster?
Emergency reports coming in. A gigantic unidentified specter has appeared on the second floor.
Why are we giving
1920s?
The
cousin
freaking 1920s.
Yeah, might as well.
All I can do is make as many tiny flame clouds as I can.
It's going right through the walls. It's like some kind of ghost. I'm doubling down on it.
All the happy people down below at the fire festival.
This castle is being choked by flames. It's kind of fun because all the smoke is rising out of the skull. It's interesting.
Great. Let's get out of here. There's no time to fight, you all.
And it seems like CP0 is now on the move.
They sure
are. A lot of these scenes right here that are happening, I can just imagine in the anime the dun 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 dun. Just all these pieces are moving right now.
We get to check in on a bunch of characters.
You get to see your boy Marco for one panel.
Marco's there, Izo's there, Kappa's there.
Kawamatsu!
And we still haven't seen your boy!
Kiyoshiro! Where you at, bro?
Kiyoshiro ain't here?
No sleeping Kiyoshiro. No napping Kiyoshiro.
Napping
He's hiding.
Kiyoshiro.
He might be napping.
Dude, he must be up to some serious shit.
It better be. He's been gone for so long.
Well, that's the thing, right? We were Apoo and Drake were gone for so long. Got an awesome couple panels with them just now. So Kiyoshiro's gonna be up to some cool shit. Oda never forgets.
Just need to see him.
And then just a real quick check-in, and I actually didn't even notice because I was so enamored with Luffy's pose and Kaido's pose, which is super sick, looking very vampiric for Halloween. I like it.
I'm sure Kaido did a blast breath there. That's why it's smoked in. Which that's cool because hybrid blast breath, bro.
I actually did not notice that we got to check in on all three of our monster trees.
Oh, yeah.
Sanji and Zoro in their fights.
So that is
which means Queen caught up with Sanji.
Queen in his big fat snakio brachio something.
Robodio.
Hey, it's all muscle. Didn't you hear the song?
Robotnik ass, Eggman ass, Sonic the Hedgehog kill this motherfucker ass.
If I get skinnier, I'll be too popular. That is my fun!
And then, King still got some of his mask on. That'll probably come out
It'll come off soon.
And
then we still get Mr. fucking Orochi monologuing.
Goo foo 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 foo, the Kuzuki...
Jesus.
The Kozuki forces and the emperors will be undone by their own hubris. I know all about it, Kaido. Your massive armory in the basement, stocked with weapons I have provided. Light it up, Kanjuro. Blow them to smithereens. Now hurry back, Fukurakoju, so we can escape. This pirate war is no longer any of our business.
Light 'em up, up, up. Light 'em up, up, up.
I'm a fire!
Young master, where are you going?
We get caught up to what Yamato is doing in her fox form. Or whatever.
Dog, fox, whatever.
Wolf.
Mythical zone
form.
Wow!
The armory is at the very bottom of the castle. I'm not sure I'll make it in time, Momonosuke-kun. You've got to slow the island down, even if it's just by a little.
Once again, very helpful map.
Very helpful map.
Jeez.
Because I never even would have thought, like, oh my god, that's where all that is? Holy shit!
There's a lot.
Yamato's dashing.
The amount of rocks that are just going to go everywhere if this place blows up.
It's shrapnel. It's literally
like,
just gigantic moving bomb.
Grenade,
Yeah,
man.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's not good.
Alrighty, anyway, she's dashing and
Ikoku sovereignty crash.
Is that what we're doing? Oh wait,
That's Big
was
Mom.
that Big Mom?
That's
Okay,
Big Mom.
yeah,
Big
no,
Mom.
that you're right.
Yeah,
Sorry.
man. Big old blast there.
As
Yamato
Kid,
rushes past. Yeah.
Kid comes like crashing through one of the floors.
Yeah, man.
Whoa!
Just Yamato. Mama, let's start with. She always has hearts in her speech dialogues, which I enjoy.
She just loves killing.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think she's like murderously flirtatious.
She's just
It's like, let's start with you. Love you, kid.
Love you, died.
She's just Crumbopulous Michael from Rick and Morty.
I
Oh
really-
boy, here I go killing
I
again.
really enjoy the fact that Big Mom is Big Mom and that Kid is her opponent, so it's literally like she's disciplining her kid at the
How many
moment.
times do I have to spank you before you stay spanked, you little bitch?
But yeah. So yeah, she's coming through, destroying his robot that always looks pretty sick. And then we get to Kid.
And then we cut into Kid's brain as he remembers a quick
A
flashback.
little conversation.
Hey, Trafalgar, can you awaken your ability?
I'm not used to it yet. I'd use it if I were near death. It burns too much energy to use in a real battle.
Mine's the same, but we're not getting anywhere like this. You'll need to back me up and play that ace.
Aw, shout out Ace.
Shut up! He's dead! Let him die! I'm sorry.
He lives on through flashbacks.
Quit beating that dead ace.
But anyway, we get some very cool abilities in the next few panels. Law's awakening, Kroom, anesthesia.
And as he goes forward, he shoves his sword through Big Mom's neck.
Pierce! Ah!
That incision is harmless, but Kroom influences your body in other ways.
Which
So
I'm
sexy.
curious to see what the official will be for that, because like Kroom just seems kind of weird, like K-Room, like
K-Room.
K-Room, K-pop room.
K-pop
Anyway.
But yeah, the damage that is done is no joke as
Yeah.
he shockwaves her and she screams in pain and blood comes out of her mouth.
Yeah, it was an attack from the inside.
Mama! Mama's bleeding!
You
Whittle Blad! Because he stuck her through the mouth.
Yup.
You could use some more magnetism, says Kid.
A sign.
Mm.
And let's see, I'm stuck to you, Mama. Let's see.
What
And
the?
that
It's like I've
was
become a
Napoleon.
magnet?
Yeah. Ah! Our weapons are being drawn in!
This is quite...
Watch out! The steel beams of the tower are being ripped out!
What?
And
What? Get me out of... Oh, no. It's
having a hard time reading this chapter because I can't zoom in. My bad.
Zoom.
But
yeah, all these beams
all
and
these
metal
beams,
just
metal start
fucking flying
crashing
in.
towards Mama. Trafalgar, get me out of here!
Don't tell me what to do.
Punk!
Yeah.
Crash!
And literally all the metal just crashes into Big Mom as the chapter ends with a big old awakened power. Yeah. Bum, 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 bum. End of 10:30 and some beautiful cover art that follows.
Always.
Okay.
A lot to talk about here. We're awakening Paramecias. That's fun.
Super hype with that stuff.
For sure.
It makes sense now a little bit more. If an awakening thing, especially when you're going to use it in battle, is like this massive power surge that also like can eventually weaken you, I'm going to give Doflamingo a little bit more props like right now, because he didn't use that until it was like towards the end of him like possibly losing to Luffy, and it was just trying to be his ace in the hole because he could clearly see how it was going. So, because before this, I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, you two, but I feel like we always thought like once you can awaken your power, why the heck would you not just use it all the time? But if it's like a massive
Drain on
surge,
stamina.
a drain on your stamina for a massive surge in power.
Yeah.
I get why people might not use it as
It's like a special form.
But like also I feel like it has a passive ability. Like we like to assume that Ace was awakened, and that's why when it talks about how he was at Drum Island, there was that day where it just didn't snow at all. And then obviously with Crocodile, we assume he was awakened because that's how he was able to make it so the entire country doesn't rain.
Him being knocked out and then it raining was very telling.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
exactly.
What I'm guessing is rather than like just a couple of new things, I imagine awakening your Devil Fruit is basically just getting to the next level of Devil Fruit power.
True.
Where your Devil Fruit is naturally more powerful now. In many ways, but it also has maybe a special awakened form type deal, if that makes sense.
Look, Paramecias are strange because they're basically all the powers that aren't easily elemental or animal.
They're miscellaneous.
Right? So I can't imagine that their awakenings are going to be like very similar in nature. Each one's
No, not at all.
very different.
That's
like,
the thing is they're super
like
powers.
at least like because you think of like Doflamingo was the only one who we've actually seen what an awakening for Doflamingo looks like.
And he's a Paramecia.
And he's a Paramecia. Right. And, you know, he can turn the areas around him into string. He can turn
giving him more to manipulate.
Yeah. So, like, obviously based on that, Kid being able to turn Big Mom into her own magnet, essentially, like, that makes sense. Because why would, like, him touching... I bet if Doflamingo had been able to touch Luffy, he probably could have done the same thing. Maybe, like, made him string for a little bit. I don't know. But... I don't know.
Well, it also could have, but also, even if that were the case, it probably would have acted similar to, like, say, Law's fruit, where if the will was too strong, it wouldn't work, is my guess.
True. So, can either of you give me a thought on, like, what exactly about Law's awakening here was so significant? What exactly is he manipulating in such a way? It strikes me as not as clear-cut, and obviously Law's powers are not as clear-cut as like some of the things we are familiar with.
Let me do my power breakdown. I'm going to say Big Mom and Kaido are on a similar level as far as coating themselves in Conqueror's Haki to defend themselves, right?
I would say
that's why nothing gets through Big Mom when she is aware and conscious, right? Law literally shoved his sword through all of her, which, unless he has Conqueror's Haki and a blade up to that level, he's not cutting her at all. So what he's doing is he is using his root on an item and allowing himself to go through basically any kind of barrier and then affecting change on the inside. Which, against people like Kaido and Big Mom, who have this wonderful mastery of something that will never let anything through, like Diamond Jozu, for example, that doesn't matter to him anymore. That's a big fucking deal, especially if she's now bleeding from that. Big Mom never bleeds when she's
bleeding
conscious.
and having speech problems, not because of said blood.
Yeah, that's a big fucking deal. Whereas Kid's awakening, where he can affect metal and pull it to him, push it away from him, that's pretty basic. But to actually touch someone and turn them into something that attracts or repels metal...
Basically a super magnet, because the amount of stuff that she just pulled towards her...
Right. He's essentially turning her into a magnet. I'm not saying metal, but he's turning her into what he generally can affect. And then affecting it. And he was stuck to her because he was a part of that. Trafalgar's the only reason he got out of that shit. Otherwise, he would have been crashing.
Well, I mean, I also assume maybe it was the magnetism of it, had entrapped the part of his arm that, had his metal arm in it. Obviously, you've got his stump where his arm used to be.
Right.
So maybe that pulled him into it, or maybe there's plenty more metal, in his clothing or something like that.
And maybe he has to touch her.
That too.
That's why he had to get so close, and the only way out of there was
relying
on Law.
Hey, that also makes sense.
Right?
I could imagine, because it's a very powerful ability, so it would make sense
no wonder
that the risk equals the reward.
Yeah,
it's seeming like Paramecias, up to this point, as far as awakenings are concerned, really do. You have to be affecting the thing that you're using. Law's sword.
Yeah, you could say the same about Law, because he had to actually stab her to hit her in the inside.
Right, exactly.
You know?
He couldn't just like
He couldn't like
room
room it, yeah.
Yeah, he literally has
And that
to
might
do
be the whole thing is like with his normal power, he can do it from a distance, but when awakened, he just got to put some extra oomph in it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and then obviously with Kid, you know, I don't know if this is all that his awakening can do, but at this point, I don't know how much more they're going to be able to do. That seemed like their big hit on Big Mom.
And I feel like...
So if she pops out of that, we're going to be in some trouble, because if it really does take up as much stamina as they're saying, they're not going to have much less after this.
I feel like... well, here's the thing, too, is I feel like awakening as a power still hasn't been fully idealized to the fans. It hasn't been, like, solidified and explained to the extent that it should. Hopefully we'll get that in the near future, now that we're seeing this stuff actually in battle.
Yeah.
Like and mentioned in battle as you do the awakening, because it's rarely been mentioned in battle.
Doflamingo was literally the first one to mention it.
So I mean, hopefully we'll.
Curry was awakened as well, turning things into.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But hopefully we'll start to get an actual standard for what is awakened power.
Like a mentor that'll be teaching awakenings, maybe, or something.
All of that to say, though, if both of these two can awaken,
Luffy can't be far behind.
Luffy can't be far behind.
Absolutely not. I mean, I can only imagine that being his
and
way.
all I gotta say is hashtag Onigashima again. I'm back on it. I'm back on the Onigashima train.
I don't know what makes more sense, because Luffy's is very similar to Katakuri, where do I want him to have a Gear 5, a new form, be his awakening, or do I want him to touch things and turn it to rubber and bounce everywhere
I'm just gonna wait and see, honestly. I
don't know which one's more fun to me.
It hurts my head to think about it.
I think bouncing on shit is funny, but I think that a Gear 5 everyone's been waiting for, right? I don't know if that's the same thing either.
This is just a goof on Luffy for a moment. I think it'd be so goddamn funny if he starts doing the fucking Bellamy bouncing all over shit and fucking Kaido just like one slams into
Spring hopper!
Literally, I mean, he takes things from...
I think it would just be funny as a goof on Luffy, but other than that, who knows what's gonna come from that.
Yeah.
Because
a smaller thing I want to point out, just if we go back a bit, I think the parallel imaging between CP Aegis on the move and then Brook and Robin. That's
totally indicative of there's something going on.
They're gonna come together in a few chapters here soon, and we're gonna get something. You know, that I think is very clear.
It's gonna be interesting.
I do find interesting that one. Now, were there 3 in that room, or there were only 2?
I think there were 3, but 2 were walking out.
Right. So there's one more.
Because I'm pretty sure I saw more than 2 at least.
So maybe these 2 go to capture Robin, the other one goes to finish off Who's Who.
Maybe.
That sounds about right.
I was literally about to speculate that.
Yeah. It's also interesting the one that carries the mask has 2 hands on it, and it could be a pretty shitty mask, but Armin Haki makes that thing just a deadly weapon, so I'm curious to see what happens there.
Yeah.
This skinny boy with his fucking like pinata mask walking around.
Going up against an even skinnier boy.
But he's so fast he always covers his face again.
So to clarify, like, this ending was super freaking hype for me, and and that section that we just talked about, super hype. I can see the music playing as we cut through all these various scenes in whatever episode this ends up being a part of. My thing is, so I already mentioned I'm not a big fan of whatever Apoo's doing, and part of that, I find him annoying, but that isn't enough to get rid of him from the story. But of all the people he's currently trying to make a deal with, Drake is not the one I thought it would be. If I'm being completely honest about that. Cut forward, I'm happy about Kinemon because in that regard I can see that makes sense. Kiku and Kanjuro, however, kind of annoyed that either of them is hanging on at that point. The amount of damage that they took doesn't make sense to me based on the logic that Oda used to keep Kinemon alive is brilliant, and it's one of those things where in hindsight you're like, that makes perfect sense. That does make sense, because if Law was sloppy about the way he put Kinemon back together, that would be something that you could see happening. Kiku and Kanjuro, on the other hand, I'm just like, I really just am not okay with either of them still being alive, even if this is literally, and obviously we've got to put a big caveat on that, we think this should be Kanjuro's last act. If it's seriously not, I'm going to be more annoyed the next time he shows his ugly mug. I'm sick and tired of Kanjuro.
It's really interesting because before all of this shit, Kanjuro was like my second favorite scabbard, and even with this shit that he's doing, like it's still pretty
it's
cool
so
fucking
interesting. It's very compelling.
But he does just keep hanging on.
So, my argument for your feelings on Kiku and Kanjuro is, I would say that Oda, he tends to set precedences for things that can and can't happen. And an argument for Kiku, and like, I think out of the three of them, the only one who physically, by his own strength, couldn't survive was Kinemon, because he got sliced by Kaido.
Oh, okay.
Kiku got stabbed in the back by Kanjuro once.
And lost an arm to
Kaido, but that's something that could be stemmed.
No, exactly.
And
obviously, I think
if you compare that to, say,
Yeah.
Pell, who survived a giant fucking atomic
now
bomb
I
in
got
the
a lot to
sky.
say about Pell.
I'm just saying, there's so many.
We had the Willa P with Pell
Willa
and Pound,
P!
and now we've definitely got the goddamn Willa K
Here's the
with
thing.
Kanjuro, Kinemon, Kiku, and Kaido.
All I'm saying
Should've been Pell.
is that there's already a precedence of people surviving shit way worse than what Kiku already endured, I would say. So I would say it's not unexpected that she survived. And then Kanjuro, same thing. He got cut. He got sliced. Let's be real. In the new world, being cut once or twice is not a good standard for, he's dead.
I don't know.
I think a good standard is like, you got fucking executed by Kaido.
Yasu
and the
was-
only reason you survived is because of the...
Yasu was
power.
shot by bullets.
I just get frustrated because then you have your Pedros.
Yeah.
And for all intents and purposes, Pedro's dead.
Yeah.
Pedro's been dead.
Yeah.
And like...
Might be on a ship somewhere.
Exactly. Like, that's the thing, is like, how do we know that Pedro might have survived? And like, somehow, after they beat Big Mom, all of a sudden all of these homies lose all of that time, and he gets all of his years back. On whatever ship he's like, we picked up this random cat in the sea, and he was pretty beat up, but now he's making amends.
No, I think specifically because of Roger's conversation with Pedro as a young kid, everyone has their time. I think he actually is.
Here's the thing too, is when
He couldn't
someone's
have something
dead,
like that.
when someone's dead or not dead, Oda usually, he brings it in. He explains.
He hammers it home.
He hammers it home, and he did that with
Pedro.
He didn't do that with Okiku. He didn't do that with Okiku.
If the deaths are sudden and like a shock, they're generally not lasting. That's what I've kind of found.
And here's the thing too, like the deaths I put quotation marks around it that have been happening on the during the Wano arc. I mean the and I think I've said this before, but the panels that they've been like the panels themselves were epic looking. But they're not. Here's the thing: they're not panels of deaths that we haven't seen before. Usually, when someone takes a really bad hit in One Piece, there's usually a big panel. It's like, oh god, it's just the end of chapter type thing, and then you don't see that person until like, oh good, he's on the mend type thing. Like freaking
Whitebeard, Ace,
a lot of people,
Odin.
just like it. So this isn't weird at this
No.
point. I, for one,
Lucky Ruse, dude.
am on. If he was alive,
Talk about a sudden death.
that would
though.
be so hilarious. Anyway, I for
Luffy
one,
comes back home after all the years Pirate King and all. He's like, you remember that time you had your buddy shoot me in the head? Crazy shit.
Maybe I shouldn't have put my life on the line. That was bad. I lost it.
See this gun? It's a toy gun.
I for one, and I think I've already told like where I stand on that. And if it's a thing that like only one person dies out of this whole thing, so fucking be it. That's what happens with one. That's what happens with One Piece, and and for me that's a matter of being what's the word?
Optimistic?
Consistent. Because here's the thing: is like I would much rather Oda be consistent about him not just killing people for the sake of killing them, for the drama of killing them, than going all full Naruto on me and killing people that don't need to be killed just because it brings tears to your eyes. I don't like that. I think if you can keep people in, keep them in. If you like them, you like them.
Yeah. And I just need to clarify with you, Brock. And like,
No, it's too late. I hate you. We're not friends anymore. Just kidding. What's up, man?
Obviously, it's Oda. It's Oda. I'm used to people surviving things that they shouldn't survive at this point.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I'm never going to be like, oh, Oda's a bad writer because he won't kill people, or Oda's a bad writer because he will kill people. Like, ultimately, I'm enjoying this goddamn story. It's one of the best things I've ever read, and I just have to voice my frustration with, like, some moments like this where it's just like...
It's preference. It's reader preference.
And my preference at this point is like, yeah, sure, I would prefer that Kiku and all of the rest of the Scabbards survive and that Kanjuro just dies a horrible death because it's what he wants, but I want his death to mean nothing because he wants it to mean everything.
It's going to mean a lot. Might mean a lot in the next... At least a couple of chapters when that's wrecking shit.
But all that to say, like, that would be my preference. However... I have to also be okay with the fact that some of the Scabbards could possibly die.
I'm sure Doji's definitely dead.
What'd you say?
I'm sure Doji's definitely dead.
You know, I can't even say that anymore.
No, I really can't.
I can't.
The fact that we have...
The only people we can confirm are dead through this raid at this point are Page 1 and Ulti, but, you know...
True.
Can we confirm that?
Absolutely.
Can we confirm that?
Remember how their defeated panels didn't show up just because they're dead?
Yeah, sure.
Whatever.
No, they got...
My crackpot theory that Oda wasn't going to show a corpse even though he... Ace.
Hey, Squid Game.
No, but I... Honestly...
Some viewers will get that.
Honestly, I mean, I'm on that part. I'm on the thing where, and I think I keep reiterating this, that, like, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I got totally traumatized / pissed off by the ending of Mass Effect 3, where there literally was no ending, despite all the choices you had to make, where you could save everyone. And that annoyed me, because I think it's okay to have one best perfect ending out of 10.
Well, that's the way a bunch of these horror games recently that, like, you got Until Dawn and you got the Dark Pictures series or whatever the heck they're calling that, where there are, like, obviously the most recent one I watched gameplay of, there are certain characters who are literally the red shirts, but then you have, like, the 5 main ones in the House of Ashes who you can save if you make all the right decisions or whatever like that. But yeah, I can understand your frustration with Mass Effect, where it's just like, come on, give me an ending where, like, because they gave it to you in Mass Effect 2, where you basically go on a suicide mission and you can save everyone.
But before I go off on Mass Effect, that was just an example, obviously. Different podcast, but obviously that's what draws me to One Piece, is like Oda, at least from my perspective, loves perfect endings in terms of by the end of it,
Banquet.
The good people are gonna be happy. And
that's the thing, is like, I don't know how much that is the case. Sorry to interrupt you, because obviously me and my wife, she is currently fighting through Impel Down to save Ace.
Yeah.
And just... And, like, me who have been spoiled on that death, and I'm keeping that as far from her as possible because I do want her to be surprised.
I was so disappointed in you when you
spoiled
that for yourself.
But, well, it was before I even met you. I heard about that before I even wanted to watch One Piece. But even me, when I watch through that, I have this nostalgia of just, you go through Marineford and you go through this epic battle over the fate of Ace and the world, and you get to that moment where the platform breaks and the key is in Ace's handcuffs and they both get out, and it feels like this Oda-esque happy ending. Luffy just fought through all of this to save Ace, and that's undone by Ace's own hubris.
Here's the thing.
Hubris.
And here's why I don't think that changes what I just said, is because I think that was... First of all, that was a huge story moment for Luffy. Mm-hmm. That was essentially necessary for him to realize, I'm not strong enough. I need to grow stronger. And that, I think, and that's another reason why I don't want there to be an overabundance of death, is because I much rather a death where there's a bunch of, like, I much rather one death that just hits me where it hurts.
Odin hit you, right?
Well, I mean, of course, Odin
hit me, but I mean, I'm used to flashback deaths. Here's the thing: flashback deaths are given in One Piece.
Yeah.
They're out of the main timeline. They're gone. They're a memory.
Whereas, like, Yasui was in the main timeline.
Yeah, and like, so that's why I think Ace's death was important. It was an important death. That's the thing with me, is like, if the death legitimately pulls the story in a good direction, yes. Great. Like, because that dead, Luffy had to face his own weakness. Because until then, he was overconfident. He didn't know his face. He thought he could take on everything. He needed this as much as we want Ace back.
Well, so did Whitebeard.
He needed this.
I mean, the whole raid was.
But it was also a change into a different era as well.
No, absolutely.
The era of Luffy.
I would say after deaths like any of these, in the next 10, 20, 50 chapters, you understand the importance of it.
Yes.
But upon just reading it and being in the moment, you're going to be like, this is so wrong.
No.
This is
And
so wrong.
let me finish.
It's clarified.
Go ahead.
And so that's why I don't think it changed, because like besides Ace's thing, that's a once in a series thing. That's like he still died with a smile on his face too, because he died knowing people loved him.
Yeah.
And like I would still say arguably that he still had a happy ending, even if it wasn't the one that we wanted. Because he died in the arms of people who truly cared, surrounded by people who loved him, because he lived this entire life just wondering, should I exist? And so I think in his own way, that was one of the best endings he could have asked for, you know? Because like when you're the son of a demon, so to speak, and being told you shouldn't be alive, and Nico Robin, I'm sure, can definitely attest to this, that's one of the best deaths you can ask for, being surrounded by people who love you. And so I say that was an important arc because Ace's death pushed so many things forward.
Just a quick parallel there. I mean, that's why we had a couple of chapters ago when obviously people are like, we're going to kidnap you, Nico Robin, and she's like, I'd rather die. And she has a smile on her face because it's like, if I die here, I'm dying fighting with the people who matter most to me.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's why because that death had such emotional strength to it. It was strong story-wise, it was strong character-wise, emotionally, and it's one of those scenes that I watch. The more I watch, the more it gets to me. Like when I first watched, I was kind of like, oh, and then the more I watch, the more I tear up.
Yeah.
You know, and so,
because you decipher all the hidden meanings and all of the other philosophical arguments that are going
and
on
like
in the moment.
when I revisit that scene after seeing flashbacks of Ace and Wano, it hits me so hard. And there's no other, like, and that's why I think it's important. I think Oda's style is important, and he remains consistent is like, because if people that I like just keep dying, then I'm not going to have that same reaction. And I want to keep enjoying these characters, and I want their deaths to mean something to me as a reader.
I mean, that's the thing, is it's the Game of Thrones dilemma, is, you know, with Game of Thrones you had a long period of time where deaths meant something. The reason that people died was you could trace the whole logic as to why that happened for a lot of them, and then eventually it just got to death for death's sake. So I agree with you on that part, where it was like, the deaths need to be meaningful.
And that combined with, you know, the way that they were brought down, Kiku and
Conjuro,
the bastard, yes. And that's why I think within the scope of One Piece, it's totally within reason that they both survived that. I mean, here's the thing: Kiku could totally die if she doesn't get help. That's the insinuation. Yeah. But I think it's probably likely she will get help because she's still alive, and that's usually how One Piece works. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, they don't pull a stupid thing where it's like, nope, she died bleeding out. Like, what the fuck, Oda? But
I mean, yeah, at this point, that would be kind of cheap.
That'd be
on us, because now
that wouldn't happen.
Because now we have the hope that she's breathing.
Yeah.
You know. And I always had that small little hope in my mind. It's like, you know, there's no thing saying that she's actually dead type deal, you know. But anyways, all that to say is I think their current situations fulfill Oda's guidelines that we've seen of what makes good character death, what makes it so a character can't survive. Because the people that have died, they were in the middle of explosions. That they were the center of these things. Like Virgo and Monet, they were in the middle of a mountain that exploded. You know, while they were cutting
Monet
pieces.
literally got her heart stabbed.
Exactly. You know, Ace, he had nothing left inside of him. You know, by the end of it, like these were things where it's like there's no way they could survive. Yeah, when it comes to things like these, Oda always leaves a measure of like, we'll see. You know. I mean, it makes Pedro's thing hard. I do think he is dead because it's been mentioned so often. But obviously, we didn't see it happen. whatever.
And I'm actually now leaning more towards my theory that we keep saying Pedro's dead, but like, what if somebody picked up his body and like, with the defeat of Big Mom, all of a sudden all of his years that were lost get returned to him or something like that. Like, that is the problem. It's like this kind of chapter makes me start speculating on those kind of things because they are connected in that regard. Like, if Big Mom falls, what happens to the homies? What happens to all the time she's taken from people? Like, there's just
if Luffy can punch the shadows out of Moria, there's no reason to say that can happen. And and here's the thing, that's very One Piece-y.
I know.
And as the vanilla kind of guy, here's the thing about me is I'm very vanilla on certain things like deaths and happy stories, and other things I'm like super like, well, why is this so boring type deal, you know?
Yeah.
But that just goes to say, like, I think within the scope of One Piece, their survival at this point is justified. I think if Kiku were to be, if she had been like done to her like what Kaido did to Kinemon, different story.
Okay. So you think she would have died in that regard?
I think she would have if someone of Kaido's level had killed her, absolutely.
Or done what he did to Kinemon.
Exactly. No, like the only reason Kinemon's alive is because of lost power.
Okay.
You know, but in Kiku's case, she got stabbed regularly in the back, which isn't much of a thing for people of their level. Like, I think the only reason it did what it did to her is because she was already reeling from fighting Kaido.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
If that makes any sense.
Good conversation on death, brought to you by the chapter of the Impermanence of All
Please,
Things.
God, don't remind me that this was literally a existential crisis kind of thing.
It's very interesting talking about how things just aren't permanent, and then boom, people are back. But yeah, that's I think a good ending conversation for 10:30. For sure. Predictions 10:31.
I have no idea.
Now I
literally have no idea.
I can't tell you.
Literally have no idea.
Kiyoshiro!
Kiyoshiro.
Finally!
That'd be good. I'd also like to see the numbers go to town on somebody. They look scary, and I'm pumped for them.
At this point, like, the only thing I know for certain is that Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji will fight their respective enemies, but I have no idea what Kanjuro's demon monster being thrown into the mix. I don't know what kind of effect it's gonna have if Yamato runs into it, then has to try and kill this thing before it reaches the bombs. I just
throw it in the water.
At this point, I'm like, will Momo make it? Will Luffy turn the island to rubber? Like, there are so many things. I'm just like, I have no idea what is going on.
I will take an update on Kiyoshiro next chapter. And
that would be great.
The numbers doing some shit.
For sure. Yeah.
Like, I'm still convinced at this point Kiyoshiro will be the one to end Orochi.
I mean, Orochi's just hanging out in the armory?
Or somewhere. I
think
not know.
He was in the treasure room or armory or something.
I don't know where he's at.
He's got a throne.
But he's trying to get out of there. So if he's in the armory...
He's trying to kill everyone and leave.
He's waiting for Fukurokoju, which is why he's wrapped up in a fight. Otherwise, Orochi would be getting away.
Okay, can we just, like, talk about, like, more fuck Orochi really quick?
Yeah, fuck
because,
Orochi.
Oh my god, like, with Kanjuro, his desire has always been to just, like, I want to die getting revenge. And it seemed like that was always kind of Orochi's thing, too, because he doesn't care about Wano. He literally wanted to, like, run it into the ground and then just be done with it. Yeah. And it's just like, but look at him being a fucking Blackbeard level, like, trying to save his life at this point, because he's literally like, Fukurokuju, let's get out of here. This war is no longer...
Here's the thing.
He's selfish.
Here's the thing about Orochi. He's never once not been a coward.
Right.
He's always been for his own life. He's the type of guy who wants to have the cake and eat it too. Yeah. In this case, he wants everyone who he doesn't like to die, and he wants to laugh and piss on their corpses, essentially.
I'm curious how many heads he has left. If he has any.
I would assume he only has one.
That's the assumption, right?
If we're also assuming that by the Orochi no Yamato doesn't
we should look into Orochi no Yamato no Orochi.
Sorry if I butchered that.
Oh, you're good. It's like Yamato no Orochi.
It's interesting. Yamato knows Orochi.
No, just no Orochi.
Yamato?
No, I'm saying Yamato.
No Orochi.
No Orochi. Just Yamato.
Yamato, yes. Orochi, no.
Orochi.
All right, that's 10:30, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back next time with no break. 10:31.
10:31, Foxy comes back.
Yes, you beat me to it.
I'm cutting this.
Brought to you by Orochi Rules.
All right, listeners, that concludes this episode of the Yonko Podcast. Top 3 numbers look scary. What will Drake do? Can Yamato get to the bombs in time? And can Momo start making some larger flame clouds? Who really knows? But hey, at least Big Mom is dead. Kidding. This is One Piece after all. I bet Chondro has a final Act 2. With that, see you all next time on the Yonko Podcast, Chapter Review 1031. Looks like there's no break, and I can be happy this week. Woo! All right, boys, we're off.